Hello everybody and welcome to Apex Racing and Chill. My name is Zabi and we are live with another round, and in fact round 2 of this Le Mans Ultimate Championship. My name is Zabi and for the very first time we're live on LMU, so this is a new experience, a unique experience. So this is a test slash a nice experience and fun one to say the least. So definitely we're going to enjoy, have fun, and watch all of these cars go on track, and really for all these guys to have and show us the action on track. Hopefully everything's going to be okay, as we're right here on Le Mans, and at Le Mans to go, as we are right here, as we'll be pretty much on it from now. We're using the overlay for now, but let's see how it goes. Basically, I'm having to use it from my single screen, which is which makes it quite difficult to use, if I'm being honest. You know, a single monitor, having to use different things, but let's see. I mean, hopefully everything's going to be fine. I think more things now should be on, as we're here right here in qualifying right there with the information. We've got a couple of cars, so we've got Hypercars and a total of 38 cars, I think 37 cars, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully, let's have a look at things, and hopefully it's running smooth. Do let me know in the comments right here and there, but I think let me just have a look at it myself, that it's running in live now. Alright then, there we go. It seems to be okay and working fine. Let's get on board with different type of cars, different type of drivers. We're on board with another driver, and I think that is a GT3 car, I believe. So we have both the cars on board. It's GTs and LMP3 cars. GT3 and Hypercars. And as information that I have on track, it is about both cars. So red ones are LMUs, which I believe are at the top. Obviously, it's about 8 cars, I think so. Yep, a total of 8 cars of GT3 cars. Total of them. Ooh, that is interesting. A car goes into the barriers there while we are on board with Alex Rayleigh. They've put it in the wall. They're into the pits. Meanwhile, what about Debut in another Hypercar? Meanwhile, going on board with a couple of drivers on their out laps now. Let's have a look and see if anybody has begun their flying lap as well. So I think there is. Now qualifying panel should be on. Yep, it is on right there. So that is brilliant to know that it looks good. You know, basically the thing is, the overlay you're watching on screen is on my OBS feed, and it is not on my game feed. And then now I think just finding all right, so nobody has found a time yet or put a time on the board. I was trying to find a time, but obviously nobody has put it yet on the board, and I think we'll only get on with things when there is drivers who have put times on the board. While there is this driver ID panel as Debut we see on board, or not on board, but simply we've got their car on right now as it stands. What about Nendor out there? That is Comlodi. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your names right, so give me a couple of weeks before we could get those right. So hot laps, I think there's a couple of drivers who are on hot laps, or possibly we are watching somebody, and that is Max. I think Max is in the pits. I saw somebody on a pink lap, and yes, that is, I believe, a hot lap right there, as they're currently going and looking fast so far around the circuit. As indeed it is our fast lap and looking driver, as at the moment from what times we have, and we're actually not able to see the times just yet, but we're going to switch and go. Yep, so they haven't got the lap on yet. Nobody has. Pretty much many drivers through the middle sector, first sector now. Let's see. It is 38.9 for Garrett in P16 at the moment, obviously in GT3 cars. Let's go to the top of our drivers in the GT3 category, and that is Patrick, who we've got, let's say, they're currently on a category. Meanwhile, we have Dalton right here on the board, as we've got something. All right, so that is interesting. We've got a couple of them. It is Callum who's got red. I think red obviously would be the quickest, I'm assuming, or maybe slow, because those green ones would be, let's say, fastest, their personal best, and I believe pink ones would be the fastest lap, if I'm not mistaken. Which at the moment it is Debut who is with those faster laps as the information. We have nothing in the information panel apparently, while there is no qualifying panel as well. While we should have that working. Driver, there is things obviously we're going to be looking at, and okay, let's say split top 8 each right there, as our tower has now went over, but that's going to be back again as we are splitting the top 8 in each category, and it is drivers at the top of the field at the moment. Now, see, that's the issue. Basically, I myself cannot, let's say, you know, I myself cannot differentiate what we have. And I think we have our onboard driver, that is Callum, as he goes up to top and ahead of everybody in the car, in the hypercar right there. As we'll now move over to see if we can, also let's actually have a look at if we can get team names, which I believe we can, but we just need to move a little bit. Yes, we can get those team names right there as well. So let's go on now, as those team names, okay, they're actually not updating on this side for me, so not quite sure what exactly is going on in terms of team names and stuff. Maybe they're not put in on the session, that's why it is. As we're going to go to now Hyper. Let's actually do that, yep. Let's go to Hyper category. There's the 8 cars in that Hyper category, and it is Callum, I believe so, at the top and ahead of everybody as it stands. That's according to my calculation. Let's see, have the driver panel on, because that actually gives us a lot better of an idea in terms of who we've got. Oh, yep, there we go. We have the driver status and driver ID status, let's say, and that is Kerrigan at the moment, car number 28 ahead of everybody and top of the timing sheets in that hypercar category. Let's go to the GT categories now. I believe overall top 4, but I think that is Mark Harris in P1 in the GT3 categories right there. Let's have a look at it once again, as we're going to try and have a look at mixed cars, and there we go. So the top 8 is the GT3 cars, and up from them it is all, sorry, top 8 is hypercars, and then all of them is GT cars. At the moment it is Mark Harris who is the fastest of them all so far in that GT3 car right there. What about some other drivers? If we could find them on the board, it is fourth fastest in that let's say hypercar category, as it is for us to watch on. We do have track map, but I think that's for the game itself. We basically will not be able to have that if we are to look at this this overlay. So if you guys do want to see that, we can have a look at, but I think at the moment this is what we've got, and we're going to try and find drivers who are at the you know, at the end of the track, but basically bear in mind, all right, so there is drivers at the top of the moment. It is Callum who is currently in the pits, I believe. So the fastest time is 3:32.805 at the moment. And what about Dalton Stevens in P2 for the hypercar category? 3 minutes 36 seconds and 2:94 is the fastest time for them so far. Meanwhile, I think we should be able to watch Callum. Yes, we are watching Callum on screen. I would have thought, for a bit, thought that they're in the pits, but obviously they are not, because I simply wasn't watching the let's say the onboard actually. So we should be watching them now. Callum right there in the fastest of the session so far. Basically, for some reason, it's not showing me the, let's say, the times of these drivers in qualifying. It is, but then basically how I've minimized the Chrome tab, that's why it's eating up all the information on that. But let's go, let's see if we can. And yep, now we can see drivers at the moment, and that is P3 for our GT3 driver on board, and that is Chuck right now, making their way around the circuit. It's just 4 minutes now remaining in the qualifying session. And in the GT3 category, it is a man on screen now. That is Lee Hepburn at the moment, ahead of everybody and on track, leading this pack of GT3 cars. Oh no, in fact that is Mark, sorry. It was Lee who's in P29th place. It is Ken Unu, who is Brevin, leading the pack ahead of everybody with a time of, let's say, overall time of 4 minutes and 2 seconds. Best of their times so far in this category. It is Mark in P1, or rather, that might be, sorry, that might actually be the car number. Sorry about that. I think, yeah, this might be the category. I'm just trying to work on. Yep, it is indeed Lee who is fastest of them all. Mark has got car number 1, but he's got time number 2 of them so far, with then a couple of tenths behind. Just behind them in P3 it is Brevin, who is car number 454. In P4 it is Andy Winters right there. They're just for a couple of minutes, a couple of corners away from either starting the lap or ending the lap, so that is going to be a thing for us to watch out as well. And yep, that is going to be the lap that they're going to come to an end, or maybe they're going to be started while we have, now look at this, Brevin in PP. There was going to be them in P3, but they got jumped by Josh, who just go over the line and has now jumped ahead of Ventus there, as we're going to be watching them out right there. Well, there's drivers moving over. I think there is a couple of them coming to an end with only 2 minutes now remaining. I think we should see Tobby's coming into the pits there with Tim Patrick in the pit lane for the moment. So Robert Smith in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As Robert's going to go up top to P3. That is a brilliant lap from Robert there, as we're just watching Robert in their car with less than 2 minutes now remaining in this qualifying session. 15 minutes of this qualifying, as they're going to be jumped up by Eric now, who's going to go better and faster than Robert right there. Anybody else getting closer to the end of this track, or end of this lap so far on their cars? We're just on board, we're watching cars. If we see anybody jump another driver, we would be able to do that. So right now, I think we're going to just watch those who've done second sectors and not the first. Okay, we see, I think some of them, yep, and it is on board with the Jones driver on your screen right now. Carl Jones at the moment, having done the 2 sectors on their lap right there. Anybody else who has done their second sector? Nobody else has. Rather, at the moment, actually, we have two-door in there, the hypercar category, car number 27, but they all have not actually fastest of them all. I was about to say fastest, but I think they're not, as they're currently at the bottom, so they might not be the fastest of them all, but it'll be interesting to look at this one. So now looking at the GT category, it is the Ford of Lee who's top up ahead of everybody. Then it is Brevin in P2, followed by Mark in P3. Then it is Eric Williams in P4. Then comes Robert Smith in P5. P5, that is P6 for Josh Christie, sorry if I've got your name right there. And then it's going to be Andy Winters in P7. That should be, I believe, actually P8 for Nendor. Right there as it stands. There's so many cars, and yep, it should be P8 for the McLaren driver. Then we're going to be on Tobby's in the Mercedes, who's in the pits as well. In P9, same goes for Tim Patrick, who's in the pits, and Jones now heading closer to the end of their lap, and they are about to get over to their lap. And in fact, they might have gotten to their end of their lap. No, they haven't, but they are about to do so, and I think it'll be a time for us to watch out how good are they able to do on this lap at the end of qualifying, as qualifying has now ended. So pretty much it would be checkered flag for those who come over at the end of qualifying. And checkered flag will fall, as it is the end of qualifying now, as Jones is going to go to the end, as we now should go over to the end of it, as it'll be interesting to know whether how much information, considering we've got moving forward. Event panel, there is okay, there's not much in the event panel. The driver ID panel shows us this one. There's no grid progress, which would, I believe, so grid progress, and it is, the gaps would move coming forwards. So basically, moving forward soon as we're now on board. It was the fastest time of the session from the hypercar category. As actually, let's have a look at the mixed categories on board now. So in the hypercars category, it was the man on top, Kerrigan Callum, on top ahead of everybody. The fastest time from them was 3 minutes and 32 seconds. 32.805, the fastest of them all. Then it was Delton Stevens in P2 with a time of 3 minutes 34 seconds and 1:30. Then it was Devin Urban, who is in P4 of the hypercar category time. Rather, that actually should be P3, not P4. It was them 3 minutes 36 seconds and 0.312. Then it'll be Jack Mays, who we will be in the car with at the moment. To just have a look at their car on the track. 3 minutes 56 seconds, 3:56.613 for their fastest time, fourth in the hypercar category. Then it is Tador, who's down, I believe, and I think qualifying obviously has ended, but their lap might have not. Is their lap going to get better than their previous one? Yes, it will. And over up to P2 in the hypercar category. We might have a couple of drivers. No, we don't. So it is Ben who hasn't got a time in the hypercar category. There's a lot of drivers without a time, actually, at the moment, with the fastest time falling for the GT3 category as it stands, at least 4 minutes, 4:00.332. But at least for now, unless we're going to watch out somebody to come over the line, and that indeed will be our fastest time sitter in the GT3 category, which will be Lee, obviously. Lee Hepburn in P1 at the moment. In the GT3 category, as Iggy is going to go P2 in that category now. Is Lee going to extend their time or be where they are? Over the line comes Lee, and that time is going to stay there as long as those seconds and minutes and seconds are concerned. But I think those tenths might have gone slightly faster. 4:00.127 for P1, 4:00.373 for P2, then 4:00.706 for P3. So that is interesting. Close times between the top five, actually, all in the 1:4:00s, within a couple of tenths of each other. Then it is P4, and now all the hypercars are
teams and drivers go to the grid for a race start.
All right, there we go. The race start is now getting started as the teams and drivers have been allowed to go to the grid from their cars, and I'm not sure whether how the race starts actually work on here. So is it going to be drivers straight to the grid, or are they going to track to the grid? As a minute now remains from the start of this race. So as it stands, I think now flag status. All right, virtual energy for these drivers as grid progress will be on, as well as intervals and gaps from these drivers. All will be ready, while obviously there's no yellow flag. Checkered flag will be off, as well as green flags should be on in a couple of moments. So there's no green flags yet, but we will be going racing, and we should be going racing right here as the drivers are now ready in the hypercar category and in the GT3 category. There's a bit of a gap between the drivers, so it's Lee up top ahead of everyone in the GT category with Iggy with EG in P2, followed by Brevin in P3 in that category. P4 for Mark, P5 for Comlody. He's currently in the pits with 10 seconds remaining. Josh on board with, that was then P4, 5, 6, P6 then this will be. Rather P7 for Eric, currently on the track and in the grid. Robert, P8 for them, P7 for P8, P9 should be for Andy then.
Formation lap has started.
I believe so. There's so many drivers now who we would be going one by one later on. But let's have a look at this then. As in the hypercar category, it is Callum on P1 with Debut in P2. Followed by this one at the moment as we're about to get started. Almost about to get started right on the track and right there, as we'll have the information and the idea, as it should be green flag racing within a couple of seconds now. Right on board, Callum on ahead of everybody with Debut in P2, followed by Dalton in P3, along with Urban in P4. P5 for Jax, P6 for Max in the pits still, P7, and these guys are in the pits as well. P8 for Alex Riley. These guys are all in the pits right now, as we should now be getting started and ready to go racing, as this is about to get interesting. Everybody should have fun. It's a 60-minute race right here at Le Mans. So possibly drivers would just treat it as a, for sure, a, let's say, a, you know, an endurance race. But definitely, it'll be an interesting thing to see. There's a couple of drivers in the pits, so interesting to know why. If any of you in the comments know, they're in the pits right there as well. But we should be getting now started, as the green flag should fall as we're about to get started for this race here at Le Mans. It's an endurance race, so definitely things might not be as crazy as one would think, but definitely it won't be too bad as well. I think it'll be interesting to know basically of what we've got and what not so far in all of this, as we might now be getting started right there, as it is now time to look at this one. We go on board with our let's say, and with our hypercar category, as it's going to be green flag racing, as green flag racing as we go here at Le Mans. It's a good start all the way from our P1 driver in the hypercar category. Meanwhile, there's almost 3 wide of the pack. It's going to be Urban in P4, while it is Dalton in P5 right behind everybody. Well, we're going to go up top. There's drivers going wide. The top 3 have got a good start. Tudor in P1 with Callum as in P2 with Callum in P1. Meanwhile, it is Jack in P3 right behind these drivers at the moment. The top 2, as this could get interesting, as our top leader is falling out of this. Meanwhile, the top 2 are going to be at it, as they're only separated by 3/10 to each other, while the interval, we're going to fall to interval within a couple of minutes. The great progress is going to be drivers, couple you could see on screen who has gained how many places and who what not. Meanwhile, Tudor might be putting all that pressure to get past Callum here. This is only the start of this race. This is only the beginning, as Callum is already going to go. We're going to be on board with Callum there. Is Callum going to have the inside line? Yes, he will. As he going to, Callum will have the outside. Tudor will have the inside. As Tudor will get past Callum, while it is Devon in P3 of this hypercar category, right ahead of Jax, who's possibly got nobody behind him, as their next car is over 4.2 seconds behind right there. As we're going to have a look at this slightly. We're going to move it here to, yep, that's perfect. We can now know the intervals to each driver, to each other as well. The top 2 are not separated by much, but just 5/10. What about the GT3 category then? At the moment, it is... Ooh, this is crazy. This is interesting in the GT3 category as well. As Brevin is in P3, Mark in P4, followed by Lodi in P5. Meanwhile, Andy in P7 there has got a couple of cars behind as well. But this is all interesting right here. This is, ladies and gentlemen, an endurance 60-minute race, as we're only on lap 1 and first race right here. But it is all happening while there is virtual energy of these cars. Possibly, I myself have no idea about that. So, but the top leaders at the moment. Meanwhile, Callum has now been overtaken by Jack as well. So Callum has lost out these drivers then. So that is interesting to know, as drivers have now then lost out. While this is interesting, the drivers you've got an information as Callum might get overtaken or have an idea. Well, an average of these driver status, Callum's going to have the inside line. So the next corner, they're going to be side by side. It's going to be Jack around the outside, Callum on the inside, and Jack will get past, and the overtake has been done. And the move will be made as Jack runs wide, and that's going to allow Callum to get past, and Callum does get past right there. This is all happening right here, and this is only the beginning, ladies and gentlemen. You never know what we're about to get ourselves into, or we are about to watch on board. Meanwhile, Jack and Devon are now going to be fighting with each other right there. They're going to be side by side as Devon goes around the outside. It's going to be interesting still side by side between Devon and Jack there. Meanwhile, we're going to go to the GT cars now. on the board in this category. So only 8 hypercars. Meanwhile, it looks quite okay at the moment in the GT category. The top 2 are separated by 7/10 of each other. Then it's 1.3 seconds to the next car is Brevin, who's slightly lost out. Mark now 7/10 to the next car as well, so 5/10 between Comlody, and it is all to go. And it is about... Look at this then. So Comlody in P5 right there as it stands, with Andy in P6. Have we had a move anytime soon? No, we have not, but we might have a move up front right there. There's meanwhile might be a fight for the lead in the GT3 class along with the hypercar category. There's only 1.32 seconds between these drivers. There's no gap between, not much gap between Devin and those guys, but we will want to watch this one right here. There's a fight for P1 and a fight for P3 with Mark coming up. Actually, you know, not far away or far behind these guys to try and have a go himself as it stands on all of this. Meanwhile, we're going to try and have a watch at this, if I could actually have a look. Meanwhile, we'll have the opportunity, an interesting thing to watch out as the final cars at the back of this hypercar category. Meanwhile, it's going to be Devin and Jack having a go at each other as Jack is in P3. Jack Mays ahead of Devin Urban at the top. Meanwhile, the top 2 again in the GT category. A change up right here as the change for the lead has happened, as overtakes have been done between drivers, as Lee has lost out the league to Karabakh Bakak in P1. Meanwhile, Brevin is still in P3 ahead of Marcus in P4. Then it is Nandor in P5 with Andy in P6. Then it is Eric Williams in P7. Meanwhile, it is Josh in P8 on their own, just ahead of Toby's in P9 with Patrick just ahead of Robert, but only 5/10 ahead of Robert. This could get exciting as Zoltan behind runs a little bit wide. That could allow the car behind to get closer, and that's going to be Jones, and that's going to be Carl Jones, who would have the opportunity to get past Zoltan there. And this is going to be side-by-side action between the 2 drivers. Who's going to be coming out on top? Not a lot separates the 2. It's all about who goes bravest into the next corner coming up ahead. They're still side-by-side at the moment right now, and there is not much information we could have, as Jones is going to be around the outside into the left-hander, and they've gone past, and the overtake has been made, so that's beautiful. So as far as the hypercar category is concerned, it is the top drivers who've had a go at each other. It is Tador who's taken the lead, and Callum's lost 1 position. Meanwhile, it is Jack Mays who's gained 2 positions, as what about Devin, who's lost out, I believe, a position or 2. Meanwhile, we're going to talk about gaps for everybody to the leader and intervals. That's going to be about gap for everybody to the leader. Interesting, I think, in the GT category. Meanwhile, the hypercar category, only a couple of cars in the hypercars, though, but still, all of that is brilliant. I think going strong. Meanwhile, these guys are in the pits, so unless they have not decided to start, possibly, or they're simply not in the race right now, just in the pits at the moment. Meanwhile, the hypercar category is going strong so far. Meanwhile, the GT3 is not far behind as well, because in the GT class, it could get exciting right here, as the fight for the lead could be on, as Lee is again just not far behind Edgy in P1, car number 81 right there. So it'll be exciting to know and see what we are about to get, or what we will be getting right there at the moment. So car numbers for each other, but positions, I think, at the moment is on with car number 81 right ahead of car number 29. There might be a chance for the Mustang behind, almost, in P1 so far, while as far as the hypercars are concerned, 3/10 separating each car, and that would be a nice fight as well. While this one for the race lead in the GT3 category, it's Lee and EGE in P1 and 2. Meanwhile, 2.4 seconds behind is Brevin, who's actually not got much, or in fact He has got a few seconds behind as Nundor, who has not got ND more than half a second behind him. There might be a fight or a switch for the lead, and there it is. Jack who takes the lead and ahead of Callum in this race and ahead in that GT category. Meanwhile, Callum might have Tudor now right behind him to have the opportunity and get past for second place. It's all on right now in this race as it stands, while Callum is 6 tenths about to quite behind, but he has not got Debu, who's not far behind him, as Debu's going to switch the inside line, and side by side both of them will be, and on the inside it'll be Debu who'll get past and get the overtake on Callum, but Debu runs a little bit wide. That might allow Callum to come back, and Callum, remember, started in the lead but has lost out the positions ever since the start of this race. The first 9 minutes have now passed. Hope you all really are having fun right there. Obviously, this is an endurance race, so it won't be as epic as it would have been a little race or a smaller race, let's say. But look at that. That's going to be another switch for the race. No, in fact, it was not a switch for the race lead. It is Callum and Tudor, while Jack leads ahead of everybody, and pretty much everybody in a fight of their own enjoying this, while Tudor has now got the second place, or has he though, because Callum has got the overtake done and has managed to get the move right there on Callum, as Callum's again going to have the inside into this corner. In fact, no, that's a whole straight, which will be the outside line. They're going to be side by side once again. This is all now happening. I mean, this is only the first 10 minutes in this race, as Callum's going to come back at him. There might be a chance for Callum to come back, and they're going to be side by side. Callum spun round, and Callum has had an incident there. Slight bit of contact. Meanwhile, Tudor now will be in a bit of pressure from Devon as well, as Devon will get the overtake as well. And this is all happening between the final. Our leader is slightly away. It is going to be Tudor and Urban fighting each other now. Tudor's going to try and get past. That could have been interesting, as Callum has now lost out. In P4 he is, as in P5's Delton, and the only running cars, the running LMP cars, the top 5 cars there, as we'll see Chuck get past the to get past Garrett there, as Garrett, no, in fact Garrett's gone past Chuck about that, as we've got, as far as gaps are concerned. What do you guys want to see in terms of racing? I mean, do you want to see about hypercars, or do you want to see, let's say, GT cars? I'm sure GT hypercars, there's only 5 of them, but let's say GT top 8 in each category. It is, let's say there might be a chance, as Lee has overtaken him, has gotten the lead, but this is going to be interesting to know. There isn't any tire status actually. If we would have gotten them, that would have been interesting, but we actually do not have that, so that would have been an interesting thing. Meanwhile, obviously green flags of racing, but I'm just playing around with this, so do not mind this. Obviously it's my first time all of this, so just okay. So F5 FCY is full course yellow. Safety car will have the safety car data in. Middle, the GT3, the top 2 are at it with the rest of the drivers not with much of a gap. Meanwhile, Mark might be in a bit of pressure from Eric there. Eric has caught up to Mark there. This could get exciting, as we're pretty much 12 minutes in then, as it stands. As we have 12 minutes in, so pretty much the only thing we are missing on here is, let's say, for me, for sure, you know, what we're missing a little bit right here is a bit of one thing, and that one thing is certainly just that you know, that thing especially is basically, let's say, I'm gonna go back to my feed, then I basically join the game in-game itself. Also, if there was a way for me to, like, let's say, run the game itself in windowed mode, which at the moment I think it's not working, I'll need to have a look at that. Meanwhile, the top 2 again, ever closer to each other. There's so many track-side battles going on with Zoltan and Jones closer to each other as well. Well, the hypercar category, it's 4/10s between, let's say, Tador and Urban, separating by each other, and now it is Callum. I wonder if he's made a pit stop or came into the pits. Obviously, we'll also not get to know of what we've got and what we'll have in terms of pit stops. But Callum at least has lost out and over 19 seconds to the leader, and is now in P5 so far. Meanwhile, again, the GT car top 2 in the GT category so far. Looking at this, and we're going to look at the Hypercars, sorry, GT category cars at the moment. 18 cars, I believe, are visible in that overlay so far. Meanwhile, we go to these cars. All right, so these guys are in the pits. All right, so possibly. All right, no, in fact, they're into the pits. One of them GT cars is into the pit lane, and I think that might be Sonidis. Then, yep, it might be Sonidis. No, in fact, it is not Sonidis, who we've not got on board. Kane, all right, Kane is in then in P19 so far in this category. Well, the top two are again going to be going side by side, wheel to wheel between the top two in this one here, as Lee's going to have the outside, and they're nearly going to make contact, and they will make contact. The top two are spun round in this race. It is all interesting right here, as now Brevin has taken the lead. Lee's spun round along with AG, and both of them are lost out, with Comlodi is now going to come from behind and take that place, have a chance. They were both side by side into the left-hander and just lost it right there. And it is all happening. Hope you, this is going to be the action we want. We're only 15 minutes in as well. So, do know that we're only 15 minutes in, as Nendor is in P2 now. And there might be an opportunity for Egi to come back. They're going to possibly put that pressure on Nendor right now. In fourth gear is AD there, as Nendor in fourth as well. Both the drivers running their cars, racing through. Who's going to be the driver at the top and coming up ahead? Remember, this is what spun them round, which is why Lee's right behind as well, as the lead is pulled over 3 seconds. Lee's going to just stay behind these guys. Meanwhile, it's going to be the action between the top two, sorry, the 2 and 3 position drivers, and it's going to be Iggy who takes back the lead, the second place, I should say. And definitely, he's got the speed as well, so brilliant pace from him. Meanwhile, Lee is now going to be on as well, as Lee will certainly get the opportunity chance. Oh, slight bit of moment from Lee there. Meanwhile, focusing on Hypercar drivers. Let's go on board with them. It is to Debu and Devin up top. Ahead of everybody is Jack Mays, and behind is Dalton, who then has lost out to, oh no, I think one of them is in. Might be, yep, I think it is Callum who's in the pits. So those who know, do let me know if they've retired or basically some sort of thing has happened for them to come into the pits, either get out of the race or simply do a stop, which they might be doing and we might not know about. Meanwhile, we're going to be on board with Mark. They're nearly going towards the wall, and they've spun round, as Mark Harris is now going to lose positions. And just as we switched on board with them, it was Mark Harris who's spun round. Meanwhile, the Hypercar category is now separated by over seconds to each other. Meanwhile, it is the GT3 car category, and let's say top two separated by 3 seconds. Meanwhile, Comlodi is in. And yep, thanks for that. I think that's what looks retired to me as well, but I just wanted to confirm because there's other Hypercar categories as well. Those cars are in the pits, and I think Callum now, his car's engine is off as well, so time in the overlay for me is running for them, but I think that's the gap for them to the leaders. So I'd assume they're out of the race and simply they've done a lap earlier, or their car is still in this race, at least in terms of the game. Meanwhile, as far as the top 2 and 3 are concerned in the positions, it's all in about. We're slightly gonna go, and yep, we will be to see the gaps between the drivers in terms of the interwhirl, obviously between the drivers, which we're seeing on board as well. So now look at this. I think it's Eggy who's possibly pulling away from Comlodi as well. Comlodi is in P3 at the moment, just behind Eggy. Meanwhile, Eric Williams in P4, P5 actually has got quite of a chance. Meanwhile, Andy in P4 with Eric in P5 as far as things are concerned in this race right now. Meanwhile, Josh in P6 with Tobias in P7. Meanwhile, where did Lee go right here? All right, we're going to look after Lee. I think Lee, along with Mac Harris. All right, Mac Harris is into the pits as well. So we're only 20 minutes in, so it definitely will be interesting to see whether these guys have actually retired or not, because 20 minutes in, I think it looks quite odd they would have retired, but you never know. So, okay, so it is in. It is, let's Harris, yep, oh no, I think Harris is not in. Harris is retired, maybe. Somebody is in the pits, though. I could see some of the drivers in the pits. Basically, the thing is, I don't have information about drivers in the pits. If we know who's in the pits and who what not, we would, but otherwise not. So pretty much all 18 cars are running unless somebody's in the pits. In the GT3 category, well, Dominic now has disappeared. Well, it should be 17 as Kane is only within a couple of now tenths to the next car moving forward as it stands so far. So that could get exciting, a bit of a fight as well. Meanwhile, the hypercar category, not much separated, while all it is all it is, and all right, definitely. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, glad you're enjoying all of this. I mean, we're trying to catch up with all the action we've got, basically, in the LMU category at the moment. The gaps are quite a lot. And, okay, I've actually not got mixed overlays, so you guys could see what's going on in the hypercar category at the moment up top. So, leader's over 6 seconds ahead of Debut, who's in P2, who himself is over 7 seconds ahead of Urban in P4. Then it is Dalton, who is 10 seconds behind the next car. Right, then in the GT3 category we'll go back to. Our leader is over 3.7 seconds ahead of Karabakh, who's in P2. Brevin is in P1, leads ahead of everybody, enjoying their lead so far at the moment, then as it stands. While 1 second behind is Com Lodi, who's lost out. He was closer. Has pretty much lost out now, and Andy Winters in P4, and he's got a couple of cars behind him, so that could get interesting right there. From Andy to Eric Williams, then Josh not far behind them as well, as it stands with Tobbies, who is just slightly behind, so this could get exciting. Meanwhile, Zoltan is just ahead of Carl, who could be in a bit of trouble. From the one behind them, that is Craig, who is behind Carl. Craig could catch up and challenge up Carl there. Carl is has within 3/10 of Craig there, but let's see. It all depends on what we will have and what these guys will give us on action, and that's brilliant. So I mean, there definitely is some really nice racing out here, considering obviously in a that's an endurance race. You know, we've still got over 38 minutes now remaining. I'm unsure if the in-game overlay is showing that time. Middle Carl getting closer right there. And what about the top drivers once again? We're going to go to next cars together to each other, and that is Eric Williams just ahead of Andy Winter, just behind Winters, who is 2.1 seconds to Nindor, but I think Nindor is in P7 at the moment. And actually, as far as those driver, let's say driver names are concerned, Virtual Energy, I think these possibly the batteries on these cars. I'm not unsure how batteries actually work on these cars for myself, but returning obviously flag status, race control message. We don't need that. We need driver, right, information panel. Actually, I think the one we had was driver ID status, which apparently is not showing up anymore unless it shows up. And yep, it does show up just with these drivers. So interestingly, now you can see on board what the fastest lap for these drivers is and what their best lap, along with you know, let's say is. And all right, perfect, that is. So you know the best lap from for the drivers. Let's see, in the GT3 category, the best lap for Brevin you can see on board, and the average lap time as well. So that's a nice little feature which we missed out for a little bit, but I think we now should be able to see it, which is a nice one to see. As once again, we're just going to go and put this on. So apparently it is all good and nice to have a look at this. Obviously, calendar. These might be the options. I think for these ones not showing anything, we might need to possibly have them put something in it. So driver ID status. At the moment, that's what we see in terms of that. And there might be some custom data, I believe, which obviously would be the information panel. I think which race control message will be on as well. So that's interesting. I think we can actually do that. So let's actually do that league name, and obviously World Endurance Racing information panel. We could do round 2, I think, like that. Yep, round 2. That's going to be an interesting one to give on. Basically, I think it's not much, but just something for us to. All right, now my tower might have disappeared, but we're going to bring the tower back, and so we will. The action on the track. So let's say, yep, as we have now on board a Hypercar leader. That's Jack Mays, leader of the race in the Hypercar category. Jack Mays leading up ahead of Debu, who's into 7.5 seconds behind him, and Debu's going to have a mistake, and Debu's nearly going to be spun round, and that's going to be yellow flag in that area, with Urban now arriving behind as well, with one of the GT cars, I believe, arriving as well. So that's going to be interesting thing. It's going to be green flag once again, as we'll go back racing once more, as it'll be on to see right there. And it's 25 minutes, no, 15 minutes, I believe now we'll be in this race. Rather, 25 minutes we actually should be, I believe. So, yep, 35 now minutes remain in this one. So, basically, that's what I was saying. Now, let's go on board with Eric Williams, who is now only a couple of tenths behind Winters, and this is going to be exciting to see. And interesting as, yeah, obviously, I mean, it indeed is a learning curve, and also, as I said earlier, managing with a single monitor, it's quite kind of a little bit of a hassle, but definitely I think I'm personally, if you ask me, I'm doing quite a nice job managing, especially on my end, in terms of, you know, what we're about to get. So now looking at this again, slightly gaining Andy on Eric there. Eric slightly losing 2 tenths, but I think it's about the start. Also, a lot would matter, I think, in terms of straight line speed as well, while Josh behind these guys up top ahead there is now Eric once again and getting closer. I'm trying to go on board to see if there is any closer cars. There actually isn't much of these closer cars. There is drivers in the pits, and there is Kane, who has just had his pit stop and tire change then, as it looks like. So Kane is now going to be coming out of the pit lane right there, while we're going to go back to the top. And there's a fight between Eric Jones and Lee. Lee at one point, our race leader, had made slight bit of a mistake, along with our current top P2 driver, Iggy. But Iggy possibly gained a couple of places. But it was Lee who could not, certainly currently finds himself in P10. Obviously might have made a pit stop as well, as that is interesting now. And this could get exciting between Jones, between Carl and Hepburn there. Hepburn to have a bit of a fight as far as it stands right now. And it'll be interesting to see. I think, you know, also for me to be here streaming on Le Mans Ultimate is a nice thing as well. If we talk about that, obviously we're going to be talking about racing action on the board, and there will be racing action on the board as Lee runs a little bit wide, and that'll be Jones who's going to try and get past, and Jones will get past Lee there, or will he though, because Lee is still now just going to be side by side narrowly as Lee just gets past, and it was almost the same place, I believe. Lee made a mistake earlier along with the NG in that race lead, but I'm not sure whether these guys made contact or it was Lee who lost out. The car on his own has been overtaken by Carl right there so far on the screen. So definitely that is an interesting bit right here, as Jones has been now overtaken along with these guys. It is Zelton. Meanwhile, these guys are going to have to get out of the way. Actually, it's not Zelton. It is the Hypercar category drivers who are going to have to get out of the way. And again, this might be a little bit of a fight. I think Lee might be coming back on Jones there, and he will be coming back indeed, as they're going to be side by side. There's a bit of an action as they'll be wheel to wheel once more. And is it going to be Lee or Jones getting past? It's Lee one moment, John the other, and it is all to go for. And yeah, that could be interesting to know. I think definitely Lee, if that's what I believe talking about, with a simple bit of damage, he would have a bit of pace loss as well, because definitely Lee, we saw an incident earlier, but still he's fighting, still he's going side by side, so definitely the sprint is on. The sprint has not lost out, considering we're watching now the cars on board with Lee in a Ford, and Lee is in a Ford indeed, I believe so. Yes, he is indeed in a Ford, with Carl in a BMW. Right there, well, there is drivers in front at the top. Might be a bit of a change in positions as well. No, there isn't. Eric still behind Andy, right here. So Andy is not yet able to, Andy's not losing a position just yet. Maybe there would be side-by-side actions, but I think he's not lost out the position just yet, as he stays ahead of Eric there. Eric might have a go at him, but this time, though, Eric's got a brilliant exit out of the corner there. You never know at the moment as it stands, but we never know. What about the message from Race Control? There isn't a message from Race Control. I think, what about the information we added? I think we did add information from drivers. Meanwhile, Eric might have the opportunity to get past Andy once more when the Hypercars is going to be getting out of their way. But I think no, Eric once again will not be closer, or is he though? He's nearly. You would have thought it's going to go on the inside line as Andy runs a little bit wide. That is going to allow Williams to be closer, and Williams now going to be side by side, and wheel to wheel action between these drivers. They're both going to be side by side once again. Andy still has the position while Eric is right behind them. It is the cars, Aston Martin versus a I'm not sure what car he's in. I think he's in a Mercedes right there. Yes, he is in a Mercedes. It is an Aston Martin versus Mercedes. It is Andy Winters versus Eric Williams. Andy is still going to have the inside line into the left hander. And that is brilliant move from Andy Winters there to get back his position. So definitely I think Eric Williams and Andy both are closer to each other, but they're doing a good job in terms of overtaking back again, especially Andy. He has had the speed and pace of, let's say, Eric right behind him for a long time now, but he's still not letting him get past. And actually, as far as I'm watching the gaps, Eric might have a go at him again. And yeah, so as we're watching the gaps on screen, as obviously we have about, what, 17 cars running in this race. Kane in P17 on his own. I think he's made his pit stop, Chuck, but he's a second behind the car in front, who is 35 seconds, so possibly drivers might have made pit stops. Meanwhile, once again, Eric and Andy are going for it. Side by side, wheel to wheel action. We have less than half an hour to go in this race, and it is all to go. It's a brilliant section and exit from without. That's going to be the entry, but he had a brilliant swoop around the outside from Andy to get past and stay ahead of Eric there. Meanwhile, one of the Hypercars is going to be trying to get past there, as it'll be Andy who will be the car in front, while it'll be Eric, but it'll be blue flags for the GT3 cars to let them get past. That might slightly compromise these guys, but you never know though, but slightly could, but I'm not quite sure. But it's all now. This is what it stands. Meanwhile, the Hypercar category is going to be getting exciting as Urban has caught up to Door, and this could get interesting. I mean, we've seen GT3 action all along, so maybe just a bit of action from the Hypercars as well. That's what we can watch out for. Let's have a look at this mixed action. Right there. So that's what we can get to so far as event panel we put out early, and I believe I did round 2 in one of the informations, and yep, I think I put round 2 in the information panel, and yes, it is round 2, and it'll be to Door now 5 tenths behind the car in front of their own category. And this is going to be getting interesting and exciting moving forward, because you know how it is about to get, and it's going to be the two hypercars. And once again, these guys probably just having to navigate through, through a couple of corners, but I think now it is as less as it gets. Slightly wide goes Urban there. Once Tidor will now get past one of the those GT3 cars as well. The GT3 leader is getting lapped by the Hypercar to P2 and 3 drivers at the moment right here, as it's now once again we're going to be going on board and inside the car with Urban there. Let's have a look at this from their car and from other camera angles as well. So nice to see this little angle, and that's going to be slightly wide going. I think this little angle is brilliant in terms of watching these guys go side by side, and a possible overtake could be coming up soon, and it will be coming up right there, as we're going to be now side by side still between the two. It is going to be right there. It is Urban who is now in P2. Now he's in P2 indeed, as he gets past Tidor's in P3. Meanwhile, again, they're going to be side by side. Who has the better entry or better exit? As Urban goes slightly wide, that might allow Tidor to come back. But beautifully done. They were side by side into the left-hander, and a brilliant entry from Tidor there. And he brilliantly got that exit, and that exit surely was brilliant, to say the least. If we were to talk about it, I think let's go on board with these guys once again. So these are nice little camera angles, in my opinion, to, let's say, watching these onboard categories, or one of the onboard with one of the hypercar, one of the GT cars categories at the moment so far. With let's go back to the top. These guys are once again going to be side by side, and action could be on between them as we're watching. Interesting to see. We might need some information. Just a minute. I think we might have. All right. Yep. I'm trying to go on board with the GT3 cars, but I think we're not really, and yet we are now able to do that once again. One more time. It's going to be our chance for Urban to get past, and Urban will be on it to try and get past him there. They'll be side by side once more. Tidor will have to concede the place to Urban there. This will be wheel to wheel once more. It'll be the question of who is going to be faster and ahead of one another into the next corner. It'll be Urban who will have the inside line into the next corner. And he is ahead and gets the overtaking done. There's a couple of drivers closer to each other in the GT category as well, but I think this is the closest battle we've got in terms of pace and speed so far between these drivers. While we have gaps to the leader to each other, and this is the intervals as well. While there's going to be a driver into the pits, and yep, that might be, and it is indeed Tidor into the pits to possibly make their pit stop, and now into the pits as they're going to come into the pits with about 23 minutes just remaining still. 20, just a little bit less than 24 minutes. So Brevin still leads by over just 1.8 seconds. 1.4 actually, with Iggy in P2, but then it is Comlodi in P3. He's leading up in as well. So, oh, that is interesting. I think that is an interesting information from Kane himself, who's currently running down in P16. He's actually ahead of. That's a good position gain then. He's ahead of Garrett in P16, so that's a nice one. But basically, Kane tells us that a wheel come off, then speeding in pit stops, and then so stopping go penalty. I'm not sure if you think you have had a wheel come off either on your steering wheel, basically on a setup, or on the car you had the wheel come off, basically. But I think nice too. Obviously, could be a thing. You know, it's okay. I mean, new project, new thing, and I think it's the case of watching great racing between all of these drivers. And surely nobody has disappointed just yet at the moment. It is Eric once again getting closer to Andy Williams. Andy, Eric, and Josh behind these as well. Maybe Josh not in their fight, but definitely I think Josh is certainly making it a nice one as well, staying with these guys. So They're really giving it all. Their all at the moment. Well, there's cars at the back. Kane being a P16. The car runner, let's say, the only cars running at the moment. Top 16 cars running in the GT3 category, and the 5 in the hypercar category, I believe. While Jack leads ahead of everybody with Urban in P2 and Tudor in P3 now coming out of the pits. And I wonder what exactly has happened, because we might have lost a driver. Because at the moment, obviously, Callum's out of it. Devin's out of it as well. He was running. Steven was running, so I wonder if he's retired. He might have retired then. Max did not start. So did in Ben. So did in Alex. So pretty much, there might now only be 3 hypercar drivers who'd be out there. Meanwhile, once again, Eric and Andy, along with Josh, all 3 cars. So all 3 drivers pretty much within a couple of tenths of each other. As far as the lead is concerned now, Eggy is catching up to our leader Brevin as well. Just 1 second now separated, between the two. So that is brilliant. I think with just 21 minutes now remaining in the session. I think, sure, this was an endurance race, and obviously Le Mans, the track has it's a huge track, so possibly you can't be having, let's say, you can't be going side by side or wheel to wheel action in every corner. They definitely did not disappoint, and one man who will not disappoint once again will be these two. Eric and Andy are going to be going side by side once more. Eric once again for another time in this race keeps his place to himself. P4, while it is P5 for Eric Williams, while Andy might have a better exit than Eric. This could depend on all what it goes, because now right behind, Josh is behind these guys as well. This could get all exciting right there, as it is Eric once again beautifully has a brilliant exit. Andy does ahead of Eric. Then they possibly once again went side by side, but one more time it was Eric who got a better exit and ahead. I've got more cameras out there to watch out for. That's a brilliant shake effect, let's say, on the track. And you guys watching could probably tell better, but possibly as soon as I've started talking, I probably have not stopped at all while we've had all of this racing action on. Meanwhile, once again, another opportunity or time could be on. I think all 3 top the P4, 5, and 6 drivers will follow each other. Josh slightly goes wide, and I think we know one more driver, and yep, that's going to be Tobias, who's into the pits as well. Along with Robert Smith into the pits as well. Slightly is a little bit wide going. And that'll pretty much allow others to gain. And no, so Eggy in the pits along with Brevin in P2. So this could get exciting. Interesting to see who gets out ahead of another driver. One in front of Eric actually took the lead, but obviously that's for the race. And there we go. Eggy is going to be out ahead of everybody. So those pit stops are going to be on, and after those pit stops, this could get exciting right here, as Eggy Karapakak is going to be taking that lead from the pit stop. So unless there's a bit of damage repairs for Brevin, or maybe just a bit of extra fuel to, let's say, for this race, so which could allow, though, and brilliantly done, I think, well done to, let's say, our race leaders, and then Karabakh takes the lead of this GT3 category and does brilliantly well. So far. Meanwhile, Jack in the lead of Hypercars with Urban in P2, with Tudor in in P3. So about 17 and a half, more than 17 and a half, about 18 minutes remaining in the race. And as far as racing action is concerned, it is going to be Eric. Where is Eric? So Eric has actually gained up on these guys. And that is interesting, just like how it was Karabakh who gained on... Karabakh who gained on Brevin. It is Brevin. Then it is Andy who's lost out to Eric Williams there, who's gained up and now in P3. Meanwhile, Josh now will be the driver who possibly challenges and gives it a hard time to... ooh, that could get exciting. Yeah, that would be, you know, a nice little hard time to Andy Williams moving forward. Well, actually, there's not many drivers who are within, you know, within, let's say, a couple of tenths of each other. So not a lot now remains between those drivers while at the front of the field. Our leader is on their own 9 seconds ahead of the next car, so he's got a huge jump from those pit stops. And Eric Williams is now only 1.5 seconds to, let's say, Brevin, who's in P2, so this could get exciting. Eric definitely, we saw, had very good pace. You know, that would be a nice one. Considering on, as Nandor is on his own as well, while... But now watching these guys be within a second. Let's go on board and enjoy this little battle. And watch it from Josh's car. Beautiful. I mean, this game has brilliant graphics as well. So actually only now we're going to get better FPS, simply because it's still over 132, 130. It's all about... I think my game is not on Ultra. My game is on high itself. But yeah, basically, so this is what I'm saying. This is the onboard camera we're going to be going on with our driver right here to simply you know, look at gaps and between all of these drivers. It's basically now, this is ever closer, as we might have seen. I think Josh might have had a better exit than Andy there, and this could get exciting. Another chance for him to take the overtake and get the move done. Oh, they nearly gets past it. Josh will have the inside. It's going to be Andy who will be having the outside line, but it'll be all to play for of what we're about to get. And this was getting closer to get there, and it is closer indeed. Once again, Josh, you would have thought for a moment he's going to get past, but he does not get past. So that's great to hear. I think for me, basically, returning to the game on PC streaming. Obviously, LMU is a new itself, but I last streamed F1 24. Basically, F1 is what most of the work I used to do on. Then when F1 25 came on, I came on to GT3, and basically, oh, this could get exciting here. This could get exciting as Josh and Andy are getting caught up by Nandor, along with Craig, who's in P7, P8 right there. Toppies. Then while Carl is in P9 on their own. Okay, yeah. So what I was saying, basically, you know, returning to PC streaming, so things to get used to. Obviously, would usually stream PS4, PS5 games from the PC, but it was less type of work in terms of just letting the stream run from the PC. But now, having the game run from this, and once again, Josh as closer as he can to, let's say, Josh there, to Andy, with about 13.5 minutes remaining. You could get anywhere there. Meanwhile, 7/10 to Nandor Cum Lodi as well. So it's all about what we're going to play out right here, as it's about the case of it. Because now look at this. As Nandor is catching up 5 tenths as well. So this, like, once again, you know, sure, we had Karabakh take the lead, Brevin in P2, with Eric jumping up to P3 during those pit stops. Once again, the fighting could begin and get started, as now Nandor is catching up and getting closer to these guys in front as well, and definitely these ending moments, these 12.5 minutes, which I believe if we got get about 4 minutes, or let's say best laps, are currently 4 minutes or something. So if we take about, you know, the seconds right now remaining session, it'll be hardly 3 laps now to the end of this race, considering if we even take 4 minutes each lap, and so possibly 3 laps, maybe 1 more if they're able to start and the final lap before the timer runs out. But that's pretty much it then in these 3 laps now remaining. And here in round 2, right here at Le Mans, Josh in P8 with, yep, that's in P8, but that basically the category. Overall P8, but P5 in their category so far in the GT3 category. Andy's P4. He's actually slightly pulling away from, let's say, Josh then, and 6-10s to him, while Comlodi in 9-10. So this is interesting now, all to play out for remaining category and remaining performance of this race. And I think it's all about what we have in front and what we are about to have right now so far, because it surely does look quality and fantastic so far. Hypercars, I mean, apologies, we haven't had much look on the hypercar category, but basically I'll have it in front of you right now. So as it stands in the hypercar, only 3 cars and the top 3 are running in this race, which is the 26 seconds separated by is Devon, who's running in P2 in the hypercar category. Then it is Tador, who's in P3 so far right there in this category. But pretty much they're all on their own, because simply these are the only 3 cars running in this. Obviously we can have a look at these hypercars, but as far as racing's concerned, it's at the back of the grid. It's not at the back, obviously at the front of the hypers, let's say hypercars. Obviously no other hypercar is running on the track. Obviously we could have another look on these cars, but everybody is in the pits, be it Callum, be it Max, be it Dalton, all retired or having not started this race. Ban Nates with Alex Riley, all in the pits, with only 3 drivers on the track right now in the hypercar category. While our leader's over 26 seconds ahead, then it is Tador, who's over 19 seconds behind Urban, who's 19 ahead of him there. So as it is, meanwhile our GT3 category is there as well, with them, you know, these cars with just 9.15 seconds now remaining. Sorry, 15 minutes remaining. 9.15, so about 9 minutes now remain in the race. About 2 more laps, possibly. But now gaps could get exciting, and they are about to get exciting. And as we went on and to have a look at on those hypercars, it was Josh who got overtaken, and it was Nandor Kamlodi who overtook and got ahead of Josh Christie there. And now this is about to get even crazier, because Andy is going to be getting caught up by Nandor there. I think Nandor might have somewhat of speed and performance come up in these remaining moments of this race, because this is brilliant so far now. And I think Andy has been actually in the limelight of getting chased by drivers. But certainly I think he's done an exceptional job to not lose his position, not completely lose out on that. Right there, again a right-hander will be coming up, and it'll be Nandor, who's going to be in P5 in this category. Slightly runs a little bit wide. That could allow Andy to pull away, and that'll also allow Josh to catch back to the car in front. But I think Andy and Nandor might be pulling away from Josh slightly there, with Nandor catching up to Kamlodi there. It's about the case of how much he's going to catch up by, or what we are about to get in front of ourselves. But definitely the 7.5 minutes now remaining in this race are about to get exciting. I think they will be more than exciting. Josh getting caught up by Nando getting caught up by Josh there as Nund slightly goes wide. That could allow him to get caught up. It all depends on this exit from Nandor to catch up to, let's say, Andy, but also Josh to try and catch up to Nandor as well. All right, there we go. I think as I just try and sip a drink and loads of it, and I just sent lots of it on my clothes, but these things happen. I mean, as if I'm trying to do it in an unusual way. That was always going to be the case. But then, all right, 6.5 minutes remaining. Possibly second last lap now, in my opinion, should be beginning with just about 6 minutes, while Josh is about 9/10 now behind Nandor, who is about 4.5 or about 4.8 tenths now behind Andy. Meanwhile, our race leaders, our GT3 leaders in P1, that is Karabakh, so far over 8.3 seconds ahead of Brevin, who's 4 seconds ahead of Eric Williams, who's on his own. Meanwhile, Alec Williams and then Andy Winters. That is, sorry, if I was seeing Andy Williams, it's Eric Williams and Andy Winters, who is now almost being caught up by the driver on front of your screen, and that is Andy Winters getting caught up by Nando, and Nando is going to be on the charge on the Aston Martin there. And this could get exciting, and this is about to get exciting indeed. It is going to be the McLaren to try and get past the Aston Martin. They will be side by side. It'll again depend, because we've seen Andy get overtaken by these guys and lose his position, but then again, then comes the next corner, and Andy tries to take it back, and he has managed to take it back, and it'll all depend on this one now. Andy will have the inside line, and once again, look at that, Andy was still being side by side, so pretty much, let's say, the side by straight line speed is not much of a difference between these drivers. And when those corners come up, Andy once again has the advantage and does the job well to get past and stay ahead of Nando there. Meanwhile, another car getting closer to one another, and that is Robert, who is caught up to Anthony Flupp, who is in that P11 in the category and P14 overall. As Robert now has caught up to the cars in front. Meanwhile, Josh is now not far away from Nando. We're going to go back to the top, and it'll be Josh and Nando once again. It is all happening as Robert once again will be on the charge to get past Anthony there, and Anthony is going to have to charge up and lose that place on to Robert. Robert takes the place, and so does Nando, as once again I would have believed these guys would have came side by side, as Nando's going to head towards the wall, and Nando has lost the car on his own just on the exit there. Nando puts the car in the wall on his own. So possibly that's not a huge incident, but still he's going to lose out his chances. 2.1 seconds to the next car, so he might be fine in terms of that. But he's lost out the chances of a P4 in the category and P7 overall. That could be a definite advantage to Josh now, who's was going to fight Nando and got the place to himself. Meanwhile, Robert, let's see, Anthony has been overtaken, and Robert has gotten ahead and overtaken. Meanwhile, while we go back to the hypercar categories, it is Jack Mays who leads the hypercars and this race in P1, 30 seconds ahead of the next car with 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the moment. And Tudor Debu, who is in P3 as well. So It'll be interesting to know who has got the fastest lap, and it is our leader Jack Mays who's got the fastest lap, 3 minutes and 31 seconds, .812. And as far as there is GT3 category is concerned, it is 4 minutes 00 seconds, .819 from our driver in P2. And that is, sorry, not the driver in P2, the driver in P1, obviously, Karabakh, who leads. Meanwhile, our final driver in this, Lee is running, and then, so interesting, couple of more drivers running earlier. Yeah, I would have thought these guys retired, but they are actually running in this race, unless they came out later in this race, if you were able to. All right, I think, yep, 17 cars are running. Obviously, these this is the overall result, 20. And 16, Kane was already in P16 actually for a while, was Kane. And once again, as we'll go back to these drivers between this is going to be interesting, as Nendor lost so much speed, as he's now not going to be only in pressure from those. He's going to be in pressure from Tobias, and Toby takes the place as well, as Nendor has lost out once again. So Nando is definitely struggling on those. Either those tires are overheated, he's got damage, and definitely he's got a damage there. We could see that his suspension is damaged in the cockpit, that his wheel is not even straight. So possibly he's just going to try and get to the end of this race then, as it stands, as everybody now will be on their final lap of this race. As I'm actually going to try and do one thing to get an idea, a better idea of this one though, as we'll move over, and we'll move this overlay to the right side, if that's okay. We'll get this to the side, but basically that's what's going to allow is going to be, that's going to allowing us to have track map right here, as just please bear this one for a moment, as we'll get the idea. And the door, and that's not centered, obviously. The door damaged his wing there, and we're going to now get an idea of who is able to get to the end of this race and who is not yet far away. So everybody pretty much has now ended this race, or at least is about to get to an end of this one, as we could see it is our hypercar leaders who are on their final lap of this race. Then they're going to get out of this way. Sorry about this if these things are coming in front of this right there, but simply just so we have a better idea of what we are about to get. We're running this on track, basically. That's all. All right, that's not what we should have. But basically, yeah, that's all we are going to look at, just so we have an idea of what we got. And Ador's definitely got damage on his wing. And as far as action's concerned, not a lot is now remaining in this one. As far as drivers are concerned, and so is speed, as pretty much apart from Josh and Andy, who are actually not far away from each other, or let's say, and we just want to know who's taking the checkered flag. So that's what I'm going to assume, as we should have the checkered flag now come out, and it should be the man on your screen, as the time has ended, and so has the race, as checkered flag falls, and that's going to be Jack Mays on the screen, as he wins here in Le Mans in the hypercar category. As checkered flag falls, and that'll be, sorry, not the red flag, that'll be the checkered flag at the end of it. And then it should be next car, Urban, who is spun around and almost losing the car on his own, but he is going to be coming up to finish in second place. So yeah, so you were talking about the tire data, definitely we will have this. But his tires were gone 9%, and Urban is about to come over and take the checkered flag. So just for a second before the end of this race, we're going to let go of the overlay we had a look at. And look at this one for a second right there. Well, many DNFs in this race. So 2 drivers have finished, as Debut is yet to come over the line and finish in this one just yet. Meanwhile, it is now Debut who's going to finish as well. So these are going to be your top 3, and your only top 3 in this hypercar category, ladies and gentlemen. And that's going to be the end of it, as we're going to go to an end. And I think the checkered flag has been taken by the GT3 categories as well. So Iggy Karabakh wins that race and wins here in the GT3 category as well. As it should be, everybody has now taken the checkered flag. So finish for everybody. Karabakh wins and takes the checkered flag here in the GT3 category. It was Brevin who finished in P2 then, as things stand, with Eric William in P3, with Andy in P4. We got a bit late trying to watch out everybody. Josh in P5 and in P8 overall, and P6 for Toby in this GT3 category. P7 for Craig, and P8 for Nando. Carl in P9 in this category. P10 for Zoltan. P11 for Robert Smith, and P12 for Lee. Then comes Anthony Blip in P16, and then Chuck is still race on track. Oh, that's interesting. So he is still on track and has not taken the checkered flag just yet. Interesting to see. So he's yet to come over the line along with Kane. So 3 cars are still remaining in the session. So these 3 cars have not yet taken the checkered flag. They're on lap 15 out of 15. They're slightly away from the end of this race, but they should be now coming to an end of it within a couple of minutes. And as soon as we have these guys come to an end and the race ends, we will definitely be going to the end of it. But now, currently, Lee has taken the checkered flag, obviously. So has Anthony. Chuck has not. And we should be seeing Chuck come over the line, take the checkered flag in P14 in the GT3 category. While it'll be all about that, and yep, it now will be Chuck who's going to come over the line to come home and finish this race in overall 17th and 14th in the GT3 category. That's going to be the end of their race now. Just coming around the final corner, as you've got 3 cars now remaining, with Kane now in the pits, or that remains. Kane has taken the checkered flag as well. Chuck is about to take the checkered flag, and he now does take the checkered flag. And into the end of this race for Chuck as well. Kane in P15. Well, P16 should be for, let's say, for Garrett there. And yes, it will be Garrett in those final moments of this race, about to come over the line and take that, and that P9, P16 overall, and P19 overall. I think P16 will be, and I think brilliant from everybody. So congratulations to the drivers, and we'll just have one more over it go of this checkered flag has fallen, and just once again we'll just move over to the throughout the grid so you guys can know who has won and who has done what in these moments right now. You're watching your driver on board so far. Obviously, it's the drivers. So we'll just move over to just like that, as Debu in P3, Karabakh won the GT3 category, Jack Mays won the Hypercar category, and that's all you have, ladies and gentlemen. With the podium, it was all for the Hypercar 1, 2, 3, only 3 cars finishing, and then Karabakh in P1, P2 for Brevin, and P3 for Eric in P3 in the Hypercar category. And that's going to be the end of it then, ladies and gentlemen. It has all ended, and we've got to the end of it. So hope you all watching enjoyed it and had all the fun watching this LM GT3 cars and Hypercar categories. And that's going to be the end of it then. The very first stream on Le Mans Ultimate. I'd call this a very good one, considering very first time, and I'm sure all of you would have had fun as well. So this is going to be the end of it then, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you all had fun, and from all of us here at Apex Racing and Chill, this is a goodbye. See you soon next time.